In the scorched heart of the upper east region of northern Ghana, where the ochre earth cracked under the sun and the acacia trees stood like stubborn sentries, there was a village called Kandiga. The white voter snaked lazily nearby, and the wind whistled through the tall elephant grass, carrying stories from one compound to another. Kandiga was a place where everyone knew everyone. Secrets were rare and stories moved faster than fire on dry savanna. So it was particularly strange that one woman in the village had managed to keep her life wrapped tightly, like a burial cloth. Her name was Akosina. Akosina lived alone. Her husband had died many seasons ago, and she bore no children. Her days were quiet, filled with tending to her small farm, weaving straw mats, and feeding her old blind goat named Zogo. The villagers whispered about her. She speaks to birds. She walks under the moon without fear. She never attends the dance festivals. Children gave her compound a wide berth. Women eyed her with caution. The men pretended she didn't exist. Only the Tindena, the village spiritual elder, greeted her with a respectful nod when they met on the narrow path to the river. Then came the day that changed everything. It was just after the yam harvest, a time of plenty. Aneba, the loud, generous farmer with the biggest yam barn in Kandiga, was preparing for his annual feast. His wives had brewed pito, and goats had been tied under the neem tree. But on the morning of the feast, Aneba let out a wail that shattered the calm. "My yams! They're gone. All of them." Villagers rushed to his compound. The bamboo barn that once overflowed with neatly stacked tubers was empty. The ground was swept clean, no signs of dragging or theft. Just nothing. "This is not the work of thieves," muttered an elder. "Maybe spirits," said another. But suspicion needed a face. That's when a young boy named Kofi stepped forward. "Last night, I couldn't sleep. I saw Mama Akosina walking in the moonlight. She was near Aneba's barn. She looked like she was carrying something, maybe a calabash." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Witchcraft," someone whispered. A group of men, led by Aneba, stormed to Akosina's compound. She was sitting outside, grinding millet. She didn't look surprised. "You were seen near my barn last night," Aneba thundered. "Where are my yams?" Akosina looked up but said nothing. "Speak, woman. Or do you want the Tindena to speak for you?" Still, silence. It was decided. A meeting would be held under the baobab tree, the place of judgment. Everyone gathered. The Tindena sat on his sacred stool, his cowrie spread before him. The wind seemed to pause. "Akosina," he said gently, "did you take Aneba's yams?" No answer. "If you remain silent, the village will judge in your silence. You know the law." Just then, a strange sound echoed from the distance. A bleat. Heads turned. Zogo, the blind goat, had escaped. No one understood how, but the goat trotted confidently, nose to the ground, as if being pulled by unseen forces. "What is this?" Aneba asked, frowning. The villagers, curious and unsettled, followed the goat. Zogo led them past the farms, through the grass, until they reached the edge of the village, to the foot of a large anthill, ancient and sacred. The goat began to scratch and dig at the base. Then, the earth caved. A hollow. Inside were hundreds of yam tubers. The villagers gasped. "My yams!" Aneba exclaimed. But that was not all. Among the yams lay a red and white wrapped talisman, marked with sacred cowries and tied with a strand of black hair. The Tindena stepped forward, lifted it, and grew pale. "This is a protection charm," he said slowly. Akosina, who had followed the group silently, finally spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. 10 moons ago, I dreamt of sickness. The spirits warned me. A dark fever would come. They said only an offering, a full harvest buried in the earth before the Harmattan moon, would protect Kandiga. Why didn't you tell us? The youth leader asked. She looked at them, at the faces that had shunned her, at the women who clutched their children when she walked by, at the men who ignored her. Would you have listened? Or would you have called me mad? No one spoke. Even the wind seemed ashamed. 77 weeks passed. And then, the fever came. It swept across the region. Nearby villages lost dozens. But in Kandiga, not one person fell ill. The teen Dana, his face shadowed with awe, called the village together. We owe our lives to the one we nearly condemned. From that day forward, Akosina was no longer feared. She was consulted, respected. The children now played near her hut. Women brought her shea butter and millet flour. And during the next fire festival, she was asked to lead the dance. She declined. But she smiled. And for the first time in many years, Kandiga heard the sound of her laughter. Moral of the story: wisdom does not shout. Sometimes, it waits in silence. Do not judge what you do not understand, for even the quietest neighbor may be guarding your life. Kindly like, share, comment and most importantly subscribe for more interesting stories.